Rolling in on a rainy morning, getting going on part 4 of this Dnr Gate deal. Got our patterns made, gonna start working this 4-inch pipe. Let's get to it. So a lot of times with a straight cope like I marked right here, or the ones that aren't that far of an angle, it's pretty much no problem to hold your pattern on there and make your mark. You can hold the pattern with one hand, make the mark with the other. These long copes like this one that I'm about to do with this really long pattern, it almost takes two hands to hold these. And if you don't have two hands and you want this to be held on the split like the way I like to do them, this is one of the tool hanging magnets like you can go to Harbor Freight and get. They do a great job of holding your pattern for you. Uh-oh. Lights went out and the grinder don't work. Trying to build gates and the power went out. Make sure the main's off. Hooked up on the commander now. Get back to work. No excuses. So right in the middle of working that 4-inch pipe, we had a massive windstorm. Must have been some pretty big trees come down because we did lose power. Electricity went out. We had to go off the grid and on the old commander, off the coal and on the diesel fuel, but we persevered. You know, just because the power goes out doesn't mean you can flop over on your back and play. Although I know somebody that would. But you know what Miss Princess Diane does? Miss Princess Diane, she does what she wants. Anyway, no how. Got the 4-inch done, moving on to cutting up some of this 6-inch pipe, so there's going to be some more action with the beveling machine. These are not cope cuts, they're straight. So I'll be using the H&M flame cut beveling machine, and I'm ready to get to work. Let's do it. So let's take a look real quick here at the way I'm working this pipe at the NBS shop and the way things are set up. Right here I got my all-fab welding positioner, motorized unit with a foot pedal. I hit the foot pedal, it turns. I can go both directions. There's also a variable speed control, and I can change the speed of rotation to suit what I'm doing. The base at the bottom is something I throwed together with stuff that was laying around here. It's designed to be picked up with a forklift and carried around if need be. The legs, you can see, they're made to be flipped over so that I can put it on casters and roll it around on the floor. And also with the series of holes you see in the feet, I can change the elevation of the unit depending on what size pipe I'm working. Another thing I've added to the base is you'll see this arm that reaches up, and there's a tube right here that I can connect to. Now I've got that tube pretty much in alignment with the center of the unit. The reason that that's helpful to me is because whenever I get ready to set up my unit, whether I've moved it with a forklift or whether I've rolled it around on the casters, the very last thing that I'll do is I'll lift it with the hoist. Well, the reason I'm doing that, I'll lift it with a hoist and I'll set it in place because the hoist chain acts as a plumb bob to set that where I want it, which is perfectly centered underneath of the beam in here that AC powered hoist is connected to. So we'll talk about the hoist here for a second. That unit right there and that unit right there, those are the two hoists that are in here that are powered by AC. They run on the shop power and they only go one direction. And I guess a person might say, well, a hoist that moves trolleys in two directions is better than a hoist that trolleys only one direction. Hear me out. It's nice to have the units that only move one direction because this is how I work my pipe. Now, if I wanted to take a piece of this pipe and set it over on the pallets, then I need the unit that moves in two directions. But you got to understand that when I pick up my hoist with my welding positioner and I set that unit down, that unit is now plumb bob positioned underneath of these two hoists that only move in this direction. So what that means is every time I pick up a pipe, it's perfect alignment of the center of that unit. It's ready to be connected to that unit. Now, if I've got a piece in that unit and I pick up another piece, say it's a 10-inch flow line flange that I want to weld on this pipe. Well, if I've got a piece of 10-inch pipe plumb bobbed in the plumb bobbed unit, and then I pick up that flange is already in perfect alignment. All I've got to do is use the hoist remote to position the flange's elevation and tack it and go. So actually the fact that this unit and this unit are plumb bob positioned to position the things that I need right in my welding positioner, you know, that's a benefit to me. I talked about using the other unit. Now this unit's powered by direct current. It's DC and it carries its own battery. So I don't have any wires that I have to deal with when I move that around. The battery powers the unit and the battery moves with the unit. So if I want to take this from over here and move it anywhere around my work area, I can do that no problem. Now, when I cut something like these pipes, another part of working efficiently is not picking something up and putting it down more times than you need to. And also, if it happens to be in the way, getting it out of the way is not a problem. And what I'm meaning by that is, if I cut up a bunch of this 6-inch pipe and I set it right there on the concrete floor, well, if it's in the way, I've got to move those parts individually. That's not very efficient. Whenever I cut these pipes, I will be putting them directly on these pallets. And by doing that, if I need to move them wherever I need to put them, or if I just need to get them out of the way, I can lift that entire skid up with the forklift and go. So that's another part of it. You can see the way I'm kind of set up here is I'm gonna be lifting these pipes with this hoist right here. I'm going to be positioning it in the welding positioner. I'm going to be using the hoist that trolleys two directions to take the pipe over and set on the pallets. And in this situation, I'm not really going to be using the welding positioner to rotate the pipe. I don't have any reason to rotate it when I cut it. The beveling machine will carry the torch 360 degrees. Excuse me. The beveling machine will carry the torch around the pipe and cut it off for me. But it is still a huge benefit to be able to put the pipe in that unit because it has weight, it has mass. It's holding that into the pipe. I don't have to worry about that into the pipe going anywhere. But what I do need to concern myself with is what's going to happen to the pipe when I cut them off. Sometimes in the field, if somebody else is picking up the things you cut with a telehandler or forklift or a machine or something, you may actually cut pipe like this and let it hit the ground. Out on location before, I've cut my pipe, and you know, if there's somebody sitting there on a telehandler that could pick it up and take it where we needed it at that moment, I would cut the pipe and let her hit the gravel. You know, if we're out at a rig location, cut her off, let her hit the mat. You just got to make sure you understand where the pipe's going to go when you cut it off. Now, in a situation like this with concrete, it's pretty undesirable just to let these pieces fall, and it's dangerous. You know, there's no telling where they're going to go. You don't want to do that. And even on location, in a lot of cases, you don't want to just cut pipe off and let it fall. What you would normally do would be you'd set up jack stands, and it would be a series of jack stands underneath each pipe you cut. So when you cut a pipe off with a beveling machine, it was not only supported in the pipe that you're cutting it off of, but also supported underneath of the pipe that you cut. So that's just a basic idea of the way I'm set up to do what I'm doing right here, and I'm ready to do it. So you might see that efficiency in situations like this is really takes some practice. Everything, if you break it down, you've got to have that understanding of how to operate an oxyacetylene torch and manage its heat and the way it cuts. Then you got to be able to apply those practices and knowledge to operation of the beveling machine and the way that the pipe gets cut. Practice and experience dealing with hoists and cranes and rigging will help to make you efficient in the way you deal with the balance of the pipe as it's cut off and handled. All of these things it will contribute to your efficiency. People that have a lot of practice at things, if you just imagine the expert Navy SEALs that execute missions like the mission that killed Osama bin Laden, those guys say that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You have to master each and every individual aspect of the task and do them smoothly. When you can do them smoothly, then you can do them quickly. If you watch a guy like Jerry Michalak, he's a professional shooter. He talks about his speed with a handgun combined with his accuracy. You know, where does that come from? Well, he talks about how once you achieve mastery, then you continue to practice. And as you continue to practice, every time you do that task, you try to find one thing that doesn't contribute positively to your outcome, and you eliminate that thing. So that's just part of the efficiency. I'm trying to show efficiency within working pipe on this job, and something you guys can think about, and I hope that helps you out. All right, stop everything. We got the cat door here, and we've had a little snow, and you can see that it's built up in front of Princess Diane's door. And you know, she likes to go out here and dig around in the gravel and put her little precious princess poopies out there. So this has got to be cleared immediately. We've got to work on that and deal with it. And I'm telling you right now, don't come around here complaining because there's cat shit in front of the shop. You know, if you got a cat, then maybe you got cat shit. We've got a princess here in Miss Diane. And if Princess Diane wants to put her precious little princess poopies out here in front of the shop, if you step in that, it's your problem. Even with the best efforts to operate with a high level of efficiency, you'll have things that hang you up from time to time. And I just ran out of oxygen. There's a few other things on my list, so we're gonna have to go to the welding supply. Super service truck's been sitting out here long enough, it's gotten covered with snow. I better get out the old brick nose dually. This is a hitch hauler I made to put my tanks on whenever I go to the supply. It basically, the main purpose of it is it just saves me from having to lift them tanks way up there. I used to pack them tanks around like it was nothing. I'd grab an oxygen like that, throw it over my shoulder and go. I don't do that no more. And just in case somebody wants to notice, whenever my neighbor first seen the way I done this, he said, "Hey, you forgot to drill a hole for your pin in your hitch right there." Cool your jets now, because the way I designed this, I've got this box right here, this rear box. See, that truck bed's hollow all the way up through there. I've got shovels and rakes and axes and hammers and tools of mass destruction that are slid up in there. But my pin that holds my hitch is inside of the box. So when I lock that box, you can't mess with it. All right then. I got my pistol and my pocket knife. This big block's warmed up and we're cleared for takeoff. Let's roll, butthole. So if we look here again at the picture, what we're building, part of this is going to be this 14-inch long piece of pipe, 6-inch pipe with the cap on it. And that's the one that's got the square hole for the lock bar to go down in. I've got my 6-foot long post cut. I've got my parts cut that go and get joined with these parts to make our hinge post. But on that short 14-inch piece, the way I've decided to do this is going to be a combination of cutting and welding both. And I think that that's probably a good way to do it to reduce handling. Once again, like I'm saying, I want to try and reduce picking something up and putting it down too many times if I can help it. So what I intend to do here with this full joint chucked up in the welding positioner, I'm going to go ahead and weld a cap on it. Then I'm going to mark it at 14 inches and cut it. Then I'm going to weld a cap on that pipe, mark it at 14 inches and cut it, and proceed that way for the 7 pieces I need. So let's do it.